Our story today takes us to the city of Colorado Springs. It is the second largest city in the U.S. state of Colorado and sits along the eastern foothills of the Rocky Mountains. The city is known for its breathtaking natural landmarks, including Pikes Peak and Garden of the Gods, and it serves as a major center for tourism and outdoor activities. The population is estimated to be around 500,000 people. Among those residents lived Riley Whitelaw. Riley Whitelaw was born on January 20, 2005 in Colorado Springs, and she was raised in a home filled with emotional support and exceptional care. Her relationship with her mother, Courtney Whitelaw, went far beyond the traditional meaning of motherhood, reaching a deep emotional and almost spiritual connection. Just 6 months before her death in December 2021, Riley insisted on designing a matching tattoo for both of them as a symbol of their unbreakable bond.
Riley was determined to have a tattoo, and for 2 years she kept asking and I kept saying no, and she came to me one night and said, "How about we get a tattoo together?" And she had drawn it, and this is what it was, and we did this in December.
Riley had a very strong and positive relationship with her stepfather, Chris Johnson, who had been with her mother for 6 years and played a central role in her life as he truly saw her as his own daughter. Among her friends, her family, and even the customers at the pharmacy where she worked, she was known as Smiley Riley, a nickname that reflected her warm presence and constant positivity. She had a natural ability to make everyone she spoke to feel seen, heard, and genuinely valued, which made her unforgettable to those around her. Riley was also a model of academic excellence and discipline, as she attended Air Academy High School and was expected to graduate with the class of spring 2023. She maintained a flawless academic record, earning straight A grades in every subject throughout her entire high school journey, without exception. Beyond academics, Riley was a multi-talented artist who played both acoustic and electric guitar with passion and expressed herself through oil painting and detailed artwork. Her artistic work earned multiple school and local awards, proving that her talent was both real and recognized. In addition to that, Riley joined the color guard team at her school, and despite initially struggling with rhythm and facing noticeable challenges, she showed exceptional determination. Through intense summer training, she transformed her skills within a single year and was eventually selected as a co-captain and a leader of her section. For the final school year, she never got the chance to begin. Unlike many students her age, Riley had a very specific and uncommon dream for her future career. She wanted to attend university to study genetics and forensic sciences with a strong focus on DNA analysis. Her goal was to one day become part of a forensic team, working to solve criminal cases and bring truth to light.
I've gotten letters from customers that maybe just had a brief encounter, but a meaningful encounter with Riley. I even had a woman that had a painting. The proceeds that she made from the painting, she donated it to the Bemis Art School in Riley's honor. And then she brought me like a print of it, and she just said, "Your daughter really touched me." And I just had that one conversation with her.
Sounds like she touched so many lives.
Yeah. And as a parent, I'm proud of that. Because how many 17-year-olds have that much of an imprint on people this early?
In December 2021, when Riley was 16 years old, she decided, like many teenagers, to take a part-time job suitable for her age. She was hired as a cashier at a Walgreens store near her home in the Rock Rimmon area. During her first days at work, she was extremely happy to start earning her own income, and she was committed to working full shifts with energy and enthusiasm. Everyone liked her, and she treated people with kindness, always willing to help those around her. But by the beginning of the second week, things began to take a very different direction. There was an older employee at the store, a 27-year-old man named Joshua. At first, he seemed to have a decent personality, and since he had been working there longer, he helped Riley with several tasks around the store. However, after about 10 days, Riley started to notice that Joshua was getting closer to her in a way that did not match a normal workplace relationship, which made her avoid talking to him. But Joshua did not stop and continued trying to approach her. In the end, Riley tried to distance herself as much as possible because he made her feel uncomfortable. At the end of the second week, while Riley was in the break room, Joshua spoke to her and suddenly shifted the conversation into something inappropriate, asking her if she liked being dominated in an intimate way. Riley was shocked by the comment and decided to stop his behavior by filing an official complaint on December 15, 2021, to the store manager, Justin Zunino. Riley was only 17 years old, a minor who had been exposed to behavior that could have legal consequences, and she reported it expecting serious action. She believed he would be suspended or that the police would be notified. But Justin chose to simply speak with Joshua and ask him to stop, which ended the matter, at least from his point of view. However, about 2 weeks later, in early January 2022, while Riley was performing her duties at the store, a discussion happened between her and Joshua. During that interaction, he asked her to complete a task, and as he moved past her, he touched her inappropriately. After this incident, Riley asked the manager to schedule her in different shifts away from Joshua, but she was told that doing so would require reducing her working hours, which would affect her income. In the end, she accepted the financial loss in exchange for avoiding his harassment. She even began referring to him as Pedo Joshua in private conversations with her co-workers, and the name became known among them. During this time, Riley had started a relationship with a young man 2 years older than her named Jake Leacock, and she managed to convince the manager to hire him and to schedule him in the same shifts with her. Later, she asked to return to her previous shifts, which meant she would see Joshua again, but she believed that having her boyfriend around would make her feel safer. However, once Joshua became aware of their relationship, the store turned into a toxic environment, largely driven by his behavior. Despite having no real authority, he began assigning extra tasks to Riley and interfering with staff break times, acting as if he was in control. Even though there was an official manager, Joshua continued to involve himself in nearly everything related to Riley and deliberately made her work environment more difficult. This situation continued despite Riley filing multiple complaints about his behavior until January 11, 2022. On that day, Joshua told another employee at the counter that Riley should take her break at 5:30. The coworker switched with Riley at exactly that time, and Riley left the counter heading to the break room. But after about an hour and 15 minutes, she did not return, which raised concern. The store manager contacted Jake since he had dropped her off earlier that day, but he had no idea where she was. The manager then reviewed the security cameras, which showed Riley walking toward the break room, but the camera outside had its view blocked by tall bins, placed directly in front of it, which was unusual and had no clear reason. When he checked earlier footage to see who placed the bins, he discovered that Joshua was responsible. He immediately rushed to the break room, and as he got closer, he noticed that the glass had been covered from the inside with paper to block visibility. When he entered the room, he found Riley lying in a pool of blood. He called the police, and when officers arrived, everyone present strongly believed that Joshua was responsible. But by that time, Joshua had already fled the store, and investigators began taking statements from employees and customers who had been there.
We now know the name of a teenager who was killed inside a local Walgreens. According to court papers obtained by 11 News, the victim, 17-year-old Riley Whitelaw, her co-worker, 28-year-old Joshua Johnson, is now facing first-degree murder charges. 11 News reporter Aaron Vitito is live outside the Walgreens near Centennial and Vindicator. Aaron, walk us through what police say happened.
Lindsay, I do first want to warn you that the details of this case are hard to hear. Now, according to the court papers I have right here, a manager told police that Riley never showed up back from her break on Saturday evening. While searching the store, they found her body covered in blood in the break room. When police interviewed managers at the store, they told officers that her co-worker, Joshua Johnson, was seen on surveillance stacking boxes to block the camera. The court papers also state that there was paper taped to cover the windows into the break room. The court papers also state that one of the managers told police that Riley had complained about Johnson making advances toward her, making her uncomfortable earlier, and asked for a change of schedule. She then requested more hours and was told she would have to work with Johnson. The other manager also told police that she noticed Johnson was acting jealous over the past few weeks after Riley's boyfriend began working here at the same store.
On that day, police were collecting statements from people at the crime scene while issuing a manhunt for Joshua Taylor Johnson. An employee named Rita told investigators that Riley had approached her earlier that day, saying she was extremely scared of Joshua and wanted to work with her in the cosmetics section. Police also discovered a handwritten sign placed on the restroom across from the break room, stating that it was out of service, which was another detail the store manager had not noticed, just like the bins that blocked the camera and the paper that covered the break room window. There was also an important statement from a coworker who said that when she approached the storage area, she found the door open and noticed a strong smell of bleach coming from inside. When she asked if anyone was there, a male voice told her not to come in because he was changing his clothes. Investigators believe that Joshua had used bleach on himself in an attempt to remove traces of blood. In the early hours of January 12, 2022, about 100 miles away from the store, a police patrol located a man matching Joshua's description. When officers stopped him, he had visible bloodstains and multiple scratches on his body. After confirming his identity, they found that he was indeed Joshua Johnson. When questioned about the blood, he claimed that an unknown man had entered the break room while he and Riley were inside and tried to attack him, but he managed to escape, leaving Riley behind. However, the following morning, the medical examiner report contradicted his story completely. The report showed that Riley did not die without a fight, as she was found holding a significant amount of hair taken from Joshua's head, which was clearly visible when he was arrested, along with the many scratches on his body. The autopsy confirmed that Riley had suffered 42 stab wounds from a sharp weapon.
This Walgreens remains closed as an investigation into a local high schooler's death continues. 17-year-old Riley Whitelaw showed up for work on Saturday, June 11th, and now community members gather to place flowers and stuffed animals at the storefront. 28-year-old Joshua Johnson has been arrested, charged with first-degree murder.
Now, Fox 21 reached out to Walgreens management and they provided the following statement, quote, "The safety of our customers and team members is top priority and we are working with local authorities in their investigation." Fox 21 also reached out to Academy School District 20 for comment. Dan Olson, principal of Air Academy, responded saying, quote, "The loss of a fellow student and friend is incredibly difficult and students may have worries, questions, and high emotions." Now, following Whitelaw's death and already underway, counseling will be provided for any student who may need to talk through and process their grief.
During this time, Riley family, friends, and loved ones were overwhelmed with grief, especially as her name spread rapidly across media outlets and social platforms, which only deepened the pain for everyone. It became almost a race among media organizations to publish details of the crime, along with Riley's name, which pushed her mother, Courtney Whitelaw, to take it upon herself to try to change that narrative. The legal process faced multiple delays after defense attorneys requested repeated evaluations of Joshua Johnson's mental condition, which prosecutors described as an attempt to stall and delay justice. But eventually, the trial began on September 27, 2023, before Judge Eric Bentley in a packed El Paso County courtroom filled with Riley family and friends. The prosecution was led by District Attorney Michael Allen, along with prosecutors Brent Nelson and Anthony Gioia. Their strategy focused on building a clear narrative that established both motive and premeditation. They argued that the motive behind the crime was a mix of intense jealousy and rejection after Riley refused his advances and began dating someone else. The prosecution presented disturbing crime scene images along with surveillance footage showing the manipulation of cameras and audio recordings of Riley describing him as Joshua the harasser with disturbing behavior. On the other side, the defense attempted to build a weak argument based on the idea of being in the wrong place at the wrong time while also repeating the claim of an unknown attacker. They suggested that Riley's complaints reflected discomfort rather than fear for her life. But this argument quickly collapsed under forensic evidence, including DNA analysis and the logical sequence of events. On October 4, 2023, after closing arguments, the case was handed to a jury of 12 members. In a reflection of how strong the evidence was, the jury deliberated for only 1 hour, which is extremely rare in first-degree murder cases, before returning with a final verdict. Guilty of first-degree murder. During this time, the graduation day for Riley's class had arrived, and her mother attended in her place.
Honoring Riley I. Whitelaw.
The sentencing hearing was filled with deeply emotional and powerful moments that left a lasting impact on everyone in the courtroom. Members of the Whitelaw family placed 3 symbolic items on the stand, including an empty glass vase, a bag of sunflower seeds, and another bag containing 42 purple stones. Jeremy Model Riley's cousin stepped forward to explain the meaning behind these items, telling the court that the 42 stones represented each of the brutal wounds inflicted on Riley's small body. As 9 family members and friends delivered their impact statements, each of them took a handful of the purple stones and gently placed them into the vase. Jeremy said with grief that they wanted to fill the vase with kindness and love instead of violence, because that is exactly what Riley would have wanted. While these painful words were being spoken, Judge Eric Bentley stood to deliver the final and decisive sentence. He sentenced Joshua Taylor Johnson to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The defendant received the sentence sitting motionless, staring into the distance, refusing to turn around toward his mother, who was crying loudly behind him, or to listen to the words of Aunt Kelly Whitelaw, who stood and told him directly that he was a monster and that Riley's life mattered and would always matter.
Thank you. And now back to Joshua Johnson, who was sentenced today to life in prison without parole, convicted in the brutal murder of Riley Whitelaw. That verdict wrapping up a shocking case that stunned the Colorado Springs community last summer. KRDO News Channel 13's Emily Coffey joins us live in studio tonight with more on how the case played out and the post-trial reactions from prosecutors and loved ones. Emily.
Heather, it's been more than a year since police found Riley Whitelaw's body laying in a pool of blood inside a Colorado Springs Walgreens. The community responding with tremendous grief, but also an outpouring of love in a sense that justice has been properly served. It's been a nightmarish 16 months for the family of Riley Whitelaw.
I'm in awe of the courage that you have shown in the courtroom here every day.
Last summer, Colorado Springs police found 17-year-old Riley Whitelaw murdered in the break room where she worked. The county coroner revealing that she had been stabbed no less than 42 times.
But your own actions caught up to you. The fingerprints and DNA evidence caught up to you. Your attempts at concealment caught up to you.
A day after her death, one of her co-workers, Joshua Johnson, was arrested walking alongside the freeway in Walsenburg, 100 miles from the crime scene. The defense delayed his trial twice, requesting competency evaluations. And when the trial did start, Johnson maintained his innocence, trying to blame the killing on a person who had purportedly attacked him as well.
You could not escape the consequences of your actions.
On Wednesday, it took just an hour for the jury to find him guilty of killing Riley Whitelaw.
You will have the rest of your life to contemplate what you have done, the life you have destroyed, and the family and the community around that life that you have ruptured forever.
Joshua, given a life sentence without parole for the brutal killing. But the verdict was not the only powerful moment witnessed at the courthouse. There was this demonstrative art piece.
These 42 stones represent the stab and incised wounds Riley endured.
And afterwards, messages of hope.
Riley's light continues to burn bright, and her loved ones, friends, and Riley's mom have dedicated themselves to guarding that flame. Riley is not forgotten.
Ultimately, today's verdict was an easy one for jurors. Joshua Johnson leaving behind a trail of damning evidence.
In response to the suffering of Riley family after her name was publicly released in the media following the crime, lawmakers in Colorado took action. The legislative effort was led by Representative Breonna Titoin and Senator Rhonda Fields, along with others who introduced a new bill known as Senate Bill 23075, aimed at closing gaps in the state criminal records law and providing stronger legal protection for the privacy of minors. On May 23, 2023, after a unanimous vote in the state legislature, Governor Jared Polis signed the bill into law, making it officially enforceable. During the final vote, and in an emotional atmosphere filled with tears, the legislation was formally named Riley Law in honor of the victim, and in recognition of her mother's relentless efforts to protect children and young people from similar violations. Under this law, the protection of children identities and public criminal records changed from an optional process that depended on families and applied only to certain crimes, into a mandatory and automatic requirement enforced by justice agencies across all cases. Despite these strict protections, the law still preserved the principle of transparency by allowing media organizations to file legal requests to lift the restriction in cases of compelling public interest. It also allowed relevant authorities such as schools and child protection agencies to share unredacted records internally to ensure that proper care and support continue to be provided to children.
Children who are victims of a crime will no longer have their names released in public records in Colorado. Governor Jared Polis signed the bill into law today, which was inspired by a Colorado Springs teenager who was murdered. KRDO News Channel 13's Jessica Grunling was at the Ronald McDonald House in Colorado Springs where that bill was signed.
It's being called Riley's Law after Riley Whitelaw. Senator Tony Exum, who represents El Paso County, says he met with her mom, who wanted to do something to give families more time to grieve after a tragedy. 17-year-old Riley Whitelaw was killed by one of her coworkers at Walgreens last June. Many of Riley's friends and family found out in the news what had happened. Governor Jared Polis says Senate Bill 75 prevents a child's name under certain circumstances who's a victim of a crime from being reported and balances the public's right to know.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime documentaries. See you in the next video.